He had driven thousands of passengers, but none like her. She sat in the back seat, silent, but shaking, no words, no destination, just tears rolling down her cheeks. He could have ignored it. He could have just driven. But that one question he asked changed both of their lives forever. Farouk had been driving a taxi in the city for almost 15 years. Every morning, he would wake up before sunrise, kiss his sleeping children on their foreheads, and whisper a prayer before stepping out into the cold streets. Driving meant survival. Every passenger meant food on the table. He had seen all kinds of people, angry ones, kind ones, rude ones, and the quiet ones lost in their thoughts. But he had learned one thing over the years: sometimes silence spoke louder than words. That day started like any other. The city was still yawning awake when he parked his yellow cab at the usual spot near the railway station. Horns honked in the distance, and the sky was still dim with early morning gray. A few passengers came and went, one businessman glued to his phone, a young couple arguing in whispers, and an elderly man who paid him with coins and blessings. Then, around 8 a.m., she arrived. A young woman, maybe in her late 20s, walked slowly toward his cab. She wasn't carrying any luggage, just a small handbag clutched tightly to her chest. Her shoulders were stiff, her eyes red. She didn't look at him as she opened the back door and quietly sat inside. "Where to, sister?" Farouk asked gently. There was no response. He turned slightly. She was staring out the window, her eyes unfocused, as if looking at something far away. He asked again, softer this time. She whispered a location barely audible, City Hospital. Her voice trembled. Farouk nodded and started driving. He glanced at her through the rear view mirror. She sat perfectly still, but her fingers were tightly clenched, pressing into her palm. Her breathing was uneven. The city passed by, the crowded shops, the street vendors setting up stalls, schoolchildren running with backpacks, but inside the taxi there was only silence until he heard it, a soft, broken sound. A suppressed sob. She covered her mouth, trying to hide it, but her shoulders shook. Farouk's heart tightened. He had seen sadness before, but this was different. This was silent pain, the kind that came from deepest loss. He gripped the steering wheel. Should he say something, or would that make it worse? He didn't want to intrude, but he couldn't ignore it either. Finally he spoke. "Sister, if there is anything I can do, I'm here." She didn't respond, but her tears fell harder. Farouk turned off the radio. From that moment, he didn't see her as just a passenger. He saw her as someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone, breaking silently before his eyes. And he knew this drive was no longer just a ride. It was a journey into someone's untold story. As the taxi continued moving through the morning traffic, Farouk could feel the heaviness in the air growing thicker. He wanted to ask more, but he knew forcing someone to speak when they were shattered inside could cause more harm. So he drove in silence, safe silence, the kind that said, "I see your pain, even if you don't speak it." They reached a red light. He glanced again in the mirror. Her hand had slipped from her handbag, revealing a crumpled hospital bracelet. Farouk hesitated but asked softly, "Are you unwell?" She shook her head slowly, tears streaming freely now. She finally spoke, her voice nothing more than a faint whisper. "It's my daughter." Farouk's breath caught. "She's 5 years old." The woman continued, staring blankly ahead. "She's been sick for a year. We sold everything. House jewelry. Everything. Nothing is left." Farouk swallowed hard. "They said today." She paused, her voice breaking. "They said today might be her last." Her words stabbed through the air like blades. Farouk's hands trembled on the steering wheel. He had children of his own. He couldn't even imagine. "She asked me this morning." The woman continued, sobbing quietly. "She asked if I could stay with her, but the doctor said I needed to bring money, or they wouldn't continue treatment." Her voice collapsed. "I left her alone," she whispered. "My baby begged me not to go, and I still walked away." She buried her face in her hands. "I am the worst mother in the world." Farouk's vision blurred. He wiped his eyes quickly, trying to stay composed. People often assumed taxi drivers were just workers, but they were silent witnesses to humanity. They saw celebrations, heartbreaks, reunions, goodbyes, but this was beyond heartbreaking. They reached the hospital. As Farouk parked, the woman reached for her handbag with trembling hands. She opened it slowly and froze. Her wallet was empty. She looked inside desperately, turning it upside down. There were a few old receipts. A photo of a little girl smiling brightly. But no money, she panicked. I must have dropped it. I had some left. She looked at Farouk with wide, terrified eyes. I can't pay you. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean. Farouk raised his hand gently. It's okay. She shook her head frantically. No, no, I'll find a way. I'll come back. I promise. Farouk stepped out of the car and opened her door. Sister, he said softly, you don't owe me anything. She stared at him, stunned. He continued, voice firm but kind. Right now, the only place you should be is beside your daughter. Go. The woman stood frozen, unable to move. She stared at Farouk as if she couldn't believe what she had just heard. But she stammered. Farouk shook his head and stepped back, gesturing toward the hospital entrance. Your daughter is waiting. Her lips trembled. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not of sorrow this time, but of disbelief. She clutched her handbag against her chest and whispered, Thank you. Thank you. Before she could walk away, Farouk spoke again. Wait. She turned. Farouk reached into his pocket and pulled out the small bundle of cash he had set aside for his own children's school fees. His hands trembled slightly, not from hesitation but emotion. He placed it gently in her hand. Her eyes widened in shock. I can't take this, she whispered. You're not taking it. Farouk said softly, You're accepting it. For her. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she fell to her knees, covering her face as she cried uncontrollably. Farouk quickly knelt too, helping her stand before anyone stared. I will pray for her, he said softly, and I know she will smile again. She nodded slowly, still shaking. With trembling steps, she walked into the hospital. Farouk watched until she disappeared through the doors. He stood there for a long moment, staring blankly ahead. His heart felt heavy, but also strangely light. He had given away the little he had saved, but somehow, it didn't feel like loss, it felt like purpose. He got back into his taxi. The seat where she had sat was still slightly damp from her tears. He placed his hand on it and whispered, May God heal her. Hours passed. Passengers came and went, but his mind stayed with her. Just before sunset, as he was about to end his shift, his phone buzzed with an unknown number. He answered. A familiar voice spoke. Quick, emotional, it's me. His heart skipped. She opened her eyes. The woman said, sobbing. She asked if I had come back. I told her I brought an angel with me. Farouk's eyes flooded. She said to say thank you. The woman whispered. She said, she wants to meet the kind driver who helped her. Farouk covered his mouth, overwhelmed. He looked at the sky. Maybe he wasn't rich. Maybe he couldn't change the world. But today, he had changed someone's world, and that was enough. Kindness doesn't always need grand gestures. Sometimes it's a quiet decision to care, when no one is watching. You never know what someone is carrying in their silence. One small act can save more than a day. It can save a life, be the reason someone still believes in goodness.